All right, I will now have the judges introduce themselves.
Good morning. My name is Ed Philpott. I am a trial lawyer coming to you from Laconia, New Hampshire. I am judging in my third national competition, and that's the number we've settled on. I couldn't decide if it was 3 or 4. I'm going to turn it over to Michael Anderson.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Michael Anderson. I live in Walker, Minnesota, which is on most maps this far from Canada. And I am a retired professor and retired college administrator, and I work with Native American students in the local public schools now.
Hello, my name is Molly Russell. I am a staff attorney with Legal Aid of West Virginia, and I specialize in domestic violence law. And this is my first We the People contest national that I'm judging.
And would you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Jack Albert.
Hi, I'm Griffin Whalen.
Good morning. My name is Sadbi Mamadi. We're all seniors at Raleigh Charter High School, and this is Ms. Klein, who's our teacher. It's great to meet all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. We are all Unit 4, is that correct? All right. I'm going to read the question now. Unit 4. How have the values and principles embodied in the Constitution shaped American institutions and practices? Question 1. Quote, it would be inconsistent with the constitutional separation of the executive and legislative powers to let the prerogative, the pardon power, be exercised by the latter. What were the framers' reasons for giving the president the pardon power, and do you agree or disagree with them? According to the framer, James Wilson, if the president abuses the pardon power, quote, he can be impeached and prosecuted. Do you agree with Wilson? Why or why not? In your opinion, what constitutes high crimes and misdemeanors?
The pardon power is clearly outlined in Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution with few limitations. The framers wrote this power into the Constitution for 2 reasons: its historical presence in England and state governors' possession of this power prior to the convention. Additionally, the pardon power aligns with the system of checks and balances. The framers had concerns about a criminal justice system that might make a flawed decision and wanted the president to check the judiciary.
Many anti-federalists and some federalists were concerned with the breadth of the power of the president, especially in cases of treason. Some anti-federalists even wrote a constitutional amendment that would allow Congress to veto pardons given by the president, but this, as we know, didn't succeed. We agree with the placement of the pardon power with the executive for the same reasons as the framers, but we believe it is too powerful without significant restriction.
This power is used correctly when combating a justice system that is not equally protecting its citizens, as seen with President Obama's numerous pardons of harshly sentenced drug users. The pardon power is also used correctly as a gesture of political reconciliation. This can be seen with President Ford's pardon of President Nixon after Watergate.
Yet, we also note that the presidential pardon has been used in a manner inconsistent with the framers' intent, such as pardoning for political, personal, or financial gain. For example, President Clinton issued a pardon for his half-brother after he served a year in prison for cocaine distribution charges. Additionally, President George W. Bush pardoned Scooter Libby after he was convicted of perjury and obstruction of justice.
Moreover, the pardon power has proven to be unchecked and incredibly broad. This power has been protected and even expanded through various cases. In Ex parte Garland, for example, the Supreme Court concluded that the president can issue a pardon any time after a crime is committed or before, during, or after criminal proceedings.
During the Constitutional Convention, Delegate George Mason expressed his fears that the president could use their power to destroy the republic. He argued that the president could and would use the prerogative to pardon crimes that they advised. In response, James Madison and James Wilson said that there was a check for this: impeachment and conviction for high crimes and misdemeanors.
A president should be impeached and prosecuted for abusing the pardon power. The broad scope of the pardon power is complemented by the broad grounds for impeachable offenses, treason, bribery, and other high crimes or misdemeanors. In case an abuse of the pardon power does not fall within the realm of treason or bribery, the framers additionally appended the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors to include all other objections to the president's actions.
We interpret high crimes as any crime that goes against the office of the official, such as bribery, treason, or espionage. Additionally, high crimes include acts that are not illegal but are immoral. Hamilton concurred in Federalist 65, voicing his opinion that the president should be impeached for abusing or violating public trust. Misdemeanors, on the other hand, can be any lesser crime, such as communicating a threat or assault.
The framers used the term high crimes and misdemeanors because it provided both flexibility and guidance for impeachable charges. Although these restrictions on the president may seem extensive, we believe that the president of our country should be held to the highest standard. Thank you.
So let me ask you, how do you think the possibility, the specter of impeachment is working with respect to curbing the pardon power?
I personally don't think it's working too well. Firstly, impeachments have only happened 3 times in our history. None of the presidents have actually been convicted by the Senate. And I think this is partially due to the lack of civic education in the public. When we think about the government, a lot of people just think about the president and don't think about Congress and the judicial branch. And we kind of think that the president does everything, like raising taxes and all of these things that the president doesn't actually do. So I think a lack of civic education and also senators and Congress members being concerned about their career and longevity in Congress has kind of curbed the impeachment, and it has not checked the pardon power at all.
So you brought up the notion of morality, and I hope I'm not muted yet. You brought up the notion of morality and the public trust. So how do we determine what the public trust is, and who determines it?
So when we say immoral rather than just illegal, this is decided by Congress. So Congress can see whether the president is meeting the terms of their oath of office, defending the Constitution, and whether they are fulfilling their role as the president. So if the president was to do something that's not clearly illegal, but is immoral, like taking a long vacation and not fulfilling their duties as president, then they can be impeached by the morals of Congress.
So in the contemporary examples, twice by former President Trump, was he rightfully impeached then? Because you said it's Congress's idea.
We believe, go ahead, Griffin, sorry.
So for Trump's first impeachment, I believe that he was rightfully impeached. I think that obstruction of justice is a serious crime. I think for his second impeachment, it's a little more clear. I think that Congress can sometimes be a little more lenient on what the charges are in the articles of impeachment when they feel that the president is not fulfilling their moral standards of duty.
Yeah, but wasn't the second impeachment a legal standard? Wasn't it an allegation that he had incited a riot?
Yes, it definitely is a legal standard, but I still feel like Congress can have partisan motivations even when they are convicting behind legal standard.
How does Congress determine morality, especially in light of the second impeachment where there's such a difference in opinion? How do you even define morality? How would Congress do that?
So I think that's a great question. Griffin was talking about how the president, like taking a month or a year off for a vacation. That's defined as something that he's no longer upholding the oath of his office. So I think we would define that as anything that doesn't uphold the oath of his office, to not only to protect the Constitution and stay within the law, but also to make sure that the country is running smooth.
And the framers kind of also reflected this idea. Judge Samuel Chase was one of the first Congress members to be, or first one of the first judges to be impeached, and this was because he would show up drunk and not kind of in the right element. And although right now that's not considered illegal to show up drunk, it's immoral. I mean, as the president, as someone that is held to the highest standard, you must come to the office, you must come ready to face any responsibility. And as Griffin said, leaving or acting in an inappropriate way or inciting a riot or violence against the people's government, I don't think is moral, and I don't think is holding that high standard that we expect the president to hold.
So I'm interested in the examples that you gave earlier as well, when you were saying that there's sometimes it's too powerful. And you said a positive example was Ford pardoning Nixon, Obama pardoning people who had been sentenced too long for marijuana use, and yet it's bad for Clinton to pardon his brother for the use of cocaine. What's the difference?
Well, we believe that when the president is using it for like personal gain and not really gain of the Constitution, because the framers initially intended for the pardon power to be used for something as it was a check. So if the president didn't believe this law should be legal, or if someone got a too harsh of a sentence, then the president should look into it. When we're talking about Bill Clinton, that's his brother. It's bringing up questions whether it was because Bill Clinton didn't think that cocaine distribution should be legal, or he got too long of a sentence, or if his brother was in a tricky situation and he had the power to get him out of that situation.
Furthermore,
So should that matter? Should it matter that it's his brother?
So for me, I personally disagree. I think that Nixon's pardon is just another example of us holding people with power and privilege to a different standard than the rest of the country. If this was somebody else who had been involved in this scandal, I think they would be sentenced and they wouldn't have any opportunity. I don't think political reconciliation is as important as equal application of the law.
Furthermore, as to your question, should it matter? I think as someone, if I was personally the president, I know I would really be inclined to impeach or to pardon my family members, as President Trump has done with his family members, has offered to do a preemptive pardon. But I think if you're going to run for president and be a president, you must know that you're being held to this higher moral standard. You must know that if you're going to impeach, I mean, President Clinton, for example, is a person that really put forward the drug on crime, the crime on drugs. And if he really disagreed with drug crimes and that kind of thing, he wouldn't have set forward this path. And I think this is kind of hypocrisy in the way that he did that specifically.
So if there are improper pardons when a president is a one-term president, he's a lame duck, is impeachment the answer?
A lot of people look at the power of contempt as of the power of censure as a weak power, but I think when something is immoral and it's not it's not something that Congress feels like is actually going to get the president removed from office, the power of censure is maybe a possible alternative to impeachment. The way that impeachment has been carried out over the past 8 years is that it's been becoming more and more of a symbol rather than a serious, rather than something that is definitely going to lead to conviction and removal. So I think that maybe censuring the president could be a possible alternative.
I want to be clear on this. You're saying that your team is saying that the first Trump impeachment based on obstruction of justice was rightly done. And the second one, the insurrection speech, did not mean there was enough wrong in what he was saying to be impeached. Is that correct? Is that your stance?
That is not correct, sir. Go ahead, Griffin.
No, I absolutely, Trump's incitement of insurrection is an impeachable offense.
Oh, you put a period, right, where she put the sign for time. That was good.
Very good.
Okay.
So I was very pleased with a couple of points that you guys hit. First of all, I think you had a good cohesive presentation. Your prepared remarks were very good, hit on the high points. I think I like the fact that you talked about the history of pardon power, the fact that at the time the Constitution was adopted, it existed in states, and that it was vestigial of the Crown's pardon power. I think it's important to try to understand what it is and how it works. I think that's important in informing what it is and how it works. I liked your examples of use of the pardon power. There are lots of them, and you obviously can't give us all, but you did have 4, and it looks like 2 that you placed in each category, 2 positive uses of the pardon power and 2 negative uses. I thought that was good in terms of examples. And I think it's difficult, and I think you experience that difficulty trying to explain the morality issue because it's a moving target. But I think that was a very, very good job, and thank you very much. Michael.
Okay, I have a whole lot to say, so I'm gonna speak fast. Different standards for different people. Who would have thunk it? That was a very good response to what I was asking you about with respect to what the positive, what the negative uses when your historical examples were. You did a good job responding to that. And also, you guys just took a stand. You pushed back again at the end with a period. That's not what we think about those 2 impeachments. And so I wanted to make sure that's where you were, and you were there. Good job with the morality issue. I will say, I really like the fact that you used the term, and then from, I think George Mason said this, that the pardon crimes that they can't pardon crimes that they advise. That was an excellent way to provide theme to what you were talking about here. And 2 other things, one's funny, one's not so funny, maybe. I really like the fact that you plugged civic education. I was close to asking you whether you're blaming the citizens on this, but no, what you were talking about is that it will all be more depthly done if we knew more about the processes. And I agree, and that's why you're here, right? And the other one is, I think they put Libby in prison because his first name was Scooter. So I don't know whether you think that's funny or not, but I always laughed whenever I saw him on the news. Your turn, Molly.
Go with mildly humorous. I'd like to echo a lot of what my co-judges had said. I thought you handled the morality question really well. That's a tough question. And it's one that honestly, we don't know the real answer to it too, because it's just a really tough question. I thought that your opening was very easy to follow. It made sense. It flowed well. I understood what you were getting. I understood your theme. So I appreciated that. And yeah, I like I said, to echo them, hitting on privilege, hitting on an actual definition of what an improper pardon is, the political, personal, or financial gain. I just thought you guys did a really nice, cohesive job.
Thank you very much, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much for your feedback.